Michael Vick. Let's bring him on, Mike. Number 1 overall pick, NFL Comeback Player of the Year, most rushing yards ever by a quarterback. So let's start with Brady, and let's start with Patrick Mahomes. You know, I said football is kind of complicated when you look at the playbook.
Yeah.
But basically, football, Michael's pretty simple. You plan for a week to do several things and impose your will.
Right.
They plan to do several things against you. New England pretty much did everything they wanted to. Sony Michel ran. Edelman was great. Brady never got touched. They kept the ball away from Mahomes. They ran the football. Kansas City, meanwhile, couldn't do anything they prepared for. Travis Kelce, no pressure on Brady, couldn't run the football.
None.
Like, I felt like I was shocked it went to overtime. New England all week prepared to do 5 things. They did all of them.
They did everything. In the beginning, it looked like it was going to be a blowout.
Yes.
I mean, the way they came out, they didn't do anything like that was outside of the norm. They lined up in 2 receivers, 2 backs, a fullback, tight end, and they just pounded the ball, zones, gap schemes, did everything that they wanted to do, controlled the clock, kept Patrick Mahomes off the field, and I can tell that was the goal coming in, and they did it well, and they did it to perfection.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Brady's red zone pick, and everybody makes mistakes, and Tom, by the way, has had a lot of big picks in a lot of big games against Atlanta, the pick 6.
Yeah.
Tom's never perfect in these games and often makes a big mistake early in big games against Seattle, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Kansas City. What Tom does is late, he wears a defense out. It's death by 1,000 cuts.
I mean, it's the way that he orchestrates the offense. So, you know, the run game was a big part of the game plan yesterday, and you can tell. It was all about controlling the time of possession and letting guys make plays when they lined up in 4 wides, quick outs, quick slants, get Gronk involved. It was a game plan that was prototypical for their style of offense, and it don't require for them to have dynamic players on the field. You know, these guys are guys who
they catch the ball,
probably average in anybody else's offense, and Tom Brady just make them look like, you know, they're Pro Bowlers.
You know, Andy Reid, you know him well. Was there anything about the game plan for Kansas City you didn't love?
I thought they had a great game plan. I thought they started slow, and that was due to the fact that it was cold and they wasn't on the field.
Right.
Trying getting into a rhythm. But at the end of the day, I just felt the defense, didn't play up to par, we talked about all year. And I don't know what this means for Coach Sutton. I know him personally, but this is the second year in a row that
they could not
underachieve.
Second year in a row that the Chiefs. By the way, the Chiefs have big name players.
Yeah.
Dee Ford's going to get franchised. Justin Houston, Chris Jones, Eric Berry,
Kendall Fuller.
Second year in a row, couldn't get people off the field in the second half.
Right, and you can't win football games that way, especially in the championship games when it counts the most. That's when you got to be at your best. So, yes, there were calls that should have been made. There were stops that should have happened on third down. It just didn't happen, and the better team made the better plays, at the right times during the game.
Let me talk about the Saints and Rams. Okay, everybody is glomming onto the bad call, and it was missed.
Yeah.
As a former player, how do you look at bad calls?
I look at it like this. As long as I played, if I would have had a couple calls that wasn't made or was made, I may have one ring. And those are things that you can't pout about, you can't be upset about, because the refs aren't perfect. You can't go into a game expecting to get calls. You got to play to win. And when it happened, I said, look, that should have been a pass interference. Call, no call, it didn't happen. It should have never gotten to that point. I feel like the Saints should have ran the clock out. Once they got in field goal range.
They didn't.
They didn't play the clock. They didn't play the clock correctly.
You know what they did? They were. When you get late in the games, Michael, you're not playing an opponent. You're playing the clock.
Right, you're playing the clock.
They played the Rams, not the clock.
Right. They could have given the ball back, kicked the field goal, given the ball back to the Rams with about 50, 55 seconds left.
Game over.
And your percentages go up as far as winning. That's your Super Bowl right there. So that call, to me, should have been made. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's irrelevant to the game and everything that transpired. They were up early. The Rams wasn't, the Rams in the beginning, in the first half. And they found a way to win. So, my hat goes off to them as far as, what they had to accomplish and the adversity that they had to face and overcome throughout that game.
Yeah, we just showed on FS1. I thought, sometimes coaches get aggressive, and most fans like aggressive coaches. I thought Sean Payton got too aggressive, and I'll say it again. When you get late in games, the great coaches realize you're no longer playing an opponent. The opponent is the clock,
Right.
and New Orleans should have just bled the clock, kick a field goal, but an incomplete pass. By the way, even Troy Aikman and Joe Buck were baffled by it.
Troy, I mean, both of those guys were like in disbelief. I was too, because I thought I knew what the scenario was about to be.
Well, it was kind of a simple scenario.
Yeah, it was simple. I mean, it sort of reminded me of what the Seattle Seahawks did in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and what Atlanta.
They overthought it.
Yeah, they overthought it. You know, and I understand the aggression. You know, that's all good in football, but it's a time to be aggressive and it's a time to be passive.
Let's talk quarterbacks. Tom Brady. If Tom Brady, and they're slight favorites over the Rams, wins the Super Bowl, what do you think transpires?
I think Tom retires. After watching his post-game interview, and this is not, you know, this is just my observation. I just thought he was so elated. He was so excited. You know, he shouted out his wife, his family. I could just tell it was a big relief. And if he goes in and wins another Super Bowl, that's 6.
Now, that would be 6 wins in 9 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, what else is it to offer? I mean, you know, Patrick Mahomes, I feel like, is a guy that's going to win one. Jared Goff is definitely going to win one, you know, in his tenure, you know, with the Rams. If he stays with Sean McVay, you know, I think Brady steps aside and give these other guys an opportunity to win some. Because if not, he'll be 45 still playing in this game.
By the way, Patriots have 12 draft picks, Gronk, and I don't have inside information, but I have talked to people who believe Gronk will retire, go into wrestling acting. So the team will lose a big contract. They'll have 12 draft picks. By the way, 2 from last year had great camps, became starters, and got hurt. So it's like 14 new draft picks.
Yeah.
Their best players outside of Gronk are mostly, and Devin McCourty, in their mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
So if Brady decides not to retire, they're going to be incredibly young and formidable going forward. Now let's go to Jared Goff. Overwhelmed early. What was your takeaway on him late?
I thought Jared Goff won the game. I mean, I take no credit away from the other guys. I think Dominic Sue was worth every penny, even though he showed up late in the season. I think paying Aaron Donald paid dividends. Getting Talib back was a great asset. Marcus Peters came and played his game. Dante Fowler was a big part of, you know, the success.
Look at
yesterday.
that throw.
But Jared Goff won this game. The play that he made on the naked to the right at the end of the game with pressure in his face.
And he was able to escape it.
He was able to escape it. He showed a ton of guts. He showed heart, ability to stay focused in a hostile environment, and that's what you want out of your franchise quarterback. It was beautiful to watch, and they deserve, you know, everything that they have coming right now.
That, to me, was the play of the game.
That was the play of the game.
We think that Goff is a pocket passer, and he overwhelmingly is.
Yeah.
But both those plays, including this one, the sidearm, by the way, very Mahomes-like, and then the other one, those are, that's off-script stuff.
Yeah.
And those were great. And I'll say this. As great as Drew Brees is, in overtime and late fourth, Goff outplayed him.
He outplayed him, and it wasn't to you know, anyone's surprise. I don't think
he's a number 1 pick.
He's a number 1 pick. He's tough. You know, he has the stature. He's strong, and you know, he has a coach that believes in him. And you know, he just did everything right. You know, it wasn't perfect in the first half, and games are going to be that way as a quarterback. You find out a lot about yourself at the quarterback position, and this is only going to make him a better player moving forward. Yeah,
Brady did not play great early. Remember the pick 6? Goff struggled early, but both winning quarterbacks went in at half, made adjustments, and didn't let bad moments overwhelm them. Life's often about how you react, not the action, the reaction. And to your point, you find a lot out about yourself in football. I thought Goff was overwhelmed and done an hour in. And at the end of the game, I'm like, God, this kid is resilient.
I got much more respect for Jared Goff than I did yesterday.
Yeah, no, today. Michael, great seeing you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.